Jim, what's up, man?
Hey, how are you?
Hey, good. Let me tell you, I used to hate you, man. I used to hate your guts because I was a massive. I grew up a Cubs fan. I'm gonna tell you, watching you track down balls, constant. Oh, it would kill me. I knew no ball was safe. It didn't matter. You couldn't gap you. You couldn't do anything. So, but that was also respect. So it is an honor to talk to you, Jim, because you drove me crazy as a kid. But man, did you ever think? I just think there wasn't a ball you couldn't catch. Did you feel like that out there?
Yeah, sometimes I really did. I thought that that was like kind of my goal or kind of my job. You know what I mean? Your job is to do whatever you're doing the best to your ability. And I just thought that was I took pride in it, just like anything else, you know?
When you were coming up, were you? Cause I think what do you have? 8 Gold Gloves. If I miss, tell me if
Yeah.
I'm wrong. Okay, when you were coming up through, minors, even playing as a teenager, were you that guy as well that could track down balls in the outfield, or were you such an athlete you just played wherever they put you?
I think a little bit of both. I grew up playing soccer, grew up playing football, a little bit of basketball and baseball, but we practiced a lot. And I always thought that because I practiced so much on an open field, that I used to run around the outfield and chase balls from the other guys that would hit. And so I think that that helped a lot.
Was there a when you got to the majors? Was there initially some sort of adjustment to speed, or were you just naturally there already as a young 20-year-old?
You know, I think the minor leagues, help each level. When I got drafted, I was only 17. So that first year, rookie ball and then A ball again, and then double A and then triple A. I don't know. It's kind of like, like, I mean, do you think you were ready for doing what you were doing when you were working in Arkansas? You know what I mean?
But I still
Like,
don't think I'm ready to do what I'm doing now, where you could see you just with our eyeballs crushing it. I completely understand your point. Like, I'm mature. I had a friend, Greg Swindell, who talked about coming up and, very brief in the majors. His first start, he goes out and he just destroys people and he's pitching. He's like, this is easy. Second game, he got lit up hard and he was like, oh, this is not easy. And I was completely wrong.
yeah.
But that his adjustment was wrong at first. He thought, wow, this is crazy. This is so easy. But then it turns out it was a lot harder than he thought. I just wonder what that adjustment's like when you get up to pro ball.
Oh, wow. When I first to pro ball, is huge because coming from high school, you're basically facing basic pitchers back in those days. It's a little different now, but a guy would throw a fastball and a curveball, and that was basically it. And when I got to pro ball, I hadn't quite turned 18 yet. I was late for my senior year, and then I was facing guys out of college, and sliders, velocity. I think I struck out, man, probably 75% of my first 50 at bats. It was tough. It
Did you
really was. It was like, and that was just in the minor. That was just the lowest level of the minor league. So I think after, like I said, year by year and day by day, you just kind of pick it up. And I guess you either do or you don't, you know?
when I think back to some of your plays, just going from memory here, I think what I think about the most is not even a Cubs game. It's NLCS against the Astros, and when you would make plays in the outfield that were, I mean, really the ones where you would just take off running like Willie Mays style with your back to the bat, like that's what I visualize you doing over and over again. But some of those plays, did you ever wonder, do I actually have the ball or not? Because they were just like so extended. You're like, is it in there?
Well, I'll tell you what it is. It's don't let it fall out. I mean, I think if you were to catch up on maybe the play in Kansas City, you can see my first reaction was to reach in my glove with my bare hand because I thought, man, if I run all this way and the ball pops out of my glove, I am going to be pissed. So that was kind of that was kind of the thing. You still watch highlights today, and guys will dive and the ball will bounce out or jump up and knock the ball over the wall. So that was my biggest fear. So unless I hit the pocket perfect, I definitely try to throw my other hand in there.
Did you ever do the thing where you were winning by 10 runs or losing by 10 runs and you would go on and pitch a little bit as like okay, we don't want to waste anyone that's in the bullpen. Did you ever do that at all?
I did it once in the minor leagues. I was a pitcher growing up my whole life, and it's all I ever wanted to do was to pitch one game in the big leagues, and I never did. I think that when I got to St. Louis, Larusa knew that I would probably throw my arm out trying too hard, so he wouldn't let me do it. But he wasn't too keen on that as much as they are nowadays. He was a little bit more like, we're gonna gut this out what we got, and if it's really bad, then we'll just use somebody literally like a reserve infielder that just knows that they won't go out and hurt themselves. But no, that was always my it was always my biggest dream.
What was Coach LaRussa like day to day? I just, from being with Oakland and Canseco and McGuire and all those guys to then being with the Cardinals, his everyday demeanor from afar seems very stoic. What was he
Same.
like every single day?
Same. It was I told him one time when he finally retired, I said, you have a pretty good personality. Too bad baseball ruined it for you. But but he was like, hey, how you doing? And he said, I'll let you know after the game, every day. It was just his whole life was about winning that day, that game, learning, being better. It was incredible. It made me such a better person and player and human. And, he was like a father, even at 29, 30, 31 years old. He was just such a teacher still and a motivator. I thought it was pretty awesome to be around. You know, I I'm not surprised, but your sports, and there's very few guys like that. You can think of the top coaches out there in the world, right? You think your Belichick's and guys like that. Maybe your Andy Reid's now in the NFL, and you think about there's a couple guys in college, and there's not too many guys like that in baseball anymore. And they get the best out of you, I think, because they have learned from a lot of different people, and they really focus in on all the details. And I think that's why some of those coaches are always, the same coaches are always successful year in and year out.
When I think about coaches that I've seen from afar, obviously, but it's like Tommy Lasorda in L.A. It's Tony La Russa, with the Bash Brothers in Oakland, obviously those teams,
Yeah.
and then with St. Louis. It's even Dusty Baker now.
Yeah.
What are those guys to you? What do they have in common that creates this longevity and also this respect, or this seeming respect in, within the team all the time?
I think that one thing as a leader, I think you can't do is ever waver. And I think the things that those guys do is that they don't waver. They always have your back no matter what. That comes first. The players come first. The game comes second. It's like a family, and so you respect that. And then they give you feedback that you need, and they treat you like a man, and they expect the best out of you, but they also know that there's going to be days you're not your best.
Would you go and say, "Hey, I'm not feeling good. Can I take the day off?" Like, how does a day off? 162 anythings in a year
Yeah.
is a lot. Like, how does that conversation go with one of those guys?
It's funny. It usually goes the other way around. They'll say like, you don't look like you're up to standards last couple of days, and give a day off, and you're like, you take pride in playing every day. It's I would think like for you, same thing. You have big weekends, and you got to wake up on Monday morning, and I'm sure there's days you're just like, oh my gosh, I just got to do this, and then you get there, and it's just like, here's the show, here we go. But yeah, there's no really. Back in those days, if you ask for a day off, you might not get another day to play. So I never wanted to come out of the lineup. There was a guy named Wally Pipp. I'm sure you're very familiar with.
It's how Lou Gehrig got so famous. I mean, Wally Pipp got hurt, and all of a sudden, well, let's replace him with this young guy for a little bit, Lou Gehrig, who then turns into one of the greatest of all time, Hall of Famer. That story is so legendary, the Wally Pipp story. But was Wally really that good, though, Jim? That's the question I ask. Couldn't they put him somewhere else if he was so good?
And that's true, actually. Right nowadays, they would be like, okay, well, we'll put you in right field or left field. But clearly, he wasn't as good as the rest of the guys. And I think it makes for a great story, though, doesn't it? You think about it?
Yeah, and that story has held up forever because the freaking Iron Horse, like, he's the dude. They made movies about him. So Wally Pipp to me is like the Beatle, Pete Best, the original drummer. You're like, man, what could have been? Who knows what Pete Best would have done if he'd have just, if he would have been kicked out of the Beatles before they got famous.
Well, there's a lot of that, right? I mean, there's in your business and every business. How many band members do you think stepped aside before somebody got big or couldn't do it anymore because they weren't making enough money to survive and had a family maybe before these guys were, single and having fun? I mean, gosh, there's probably millions of stories like that.
My manager was a drummer for my manager's 50 now, but he was a drummer for a pretty famous band, and he got out about 3 months before they hit and signed the record deal because, again, he just wanted to. They were broke, they were poor, and he was like, "I can't do it. We have a kid coming," so he got he got out, and then like 3 months later they hit big, and it's crazy to think that he was like, I can't. But I imagine that happens with ball players too, some, right? Where you're playing in the minors, you're not making much money, and you're like, I just can't do this anymore. And you jump when, I don't know, maybe you had the potential. Does that happen with ball players at all?
Yeah. It's funny you say that. See, I was probably 19, and our second round pick was our shortstop starting in high A ball right away. And halfway through the season, he just quit. He decided this isn't for me. I'm going to go home and hang out with my girlfriend, basically. And we're like, what? Like, you're a number 2 pick, and then and the second round pick, our shortstop, has huge, obviously, potential. And he just said, I'm done. I'm out. He didn't even play a full year. Crazy.
Did they not do what they do now, where they basically dive into all the, mental health reports, the love of the game, the passion? Because it seems like you would know that about a player, that if they didn't absolutely love it, you wouldn't draft them at this point.
Yeah, I think you can't measure heart, obviously, right? And then homesick. I don't know if there's a lot of people out there who've never been away from home. Yeah, I was kind of shocked because I don't think he was out of high school. I think he was out of like a JC or something, but really good player, maybe just didn't have it in him. Maybe he had enough, So
You moving to Nashville? Did I see that? You're moving to Nashville on your Twitter?
I'm trying. We have been looking for a year. The prices have gone crazy. But we were just there this weekend, and we found a really nice piece of property. But I've been struggling with find a place on a golf course or we've been looking for 20, 30, 40, 50 acres. So a lot of friends there. Love it there. We're there a lot. And so, yeah, we're definitely going to move there. I got a son who's a sophomore. He's got his last week of school, and as soon as he's out of the house, we might be headed that way. If not before.
What's your handicap? I feel like you professional athletes. For example, one of my best friends is Andy Roddick, the tennis player, and he had never played golf, and all of a sudden he starts playing golf, and he goes to like a 4 in 8 months because hand-eye coordination is so freaking good. I want to kill him. So that's not the case with me. So what about a guy like you that would hit a ball and can run fast for a living? How good are you at golf?
I stopped playing about 3 or 4 years ago, but I'm one of those guys that just once I pick something up, I just go and go and go until I get pretty good. And I got down to like an 8 or a 9, maybe.
You're not playing at all anymore?
I don't play at all. No, I used to have a house in Palm Springs on the golf course, and I used to have a house up in Idaho right when I retired. And then when we moved back to St. Louis to, the kids all get in school and do all that, I just kind of gave it up. It's hard to play. What's funny is in Missouri here, especially, it's always raining or it's hot or it's cold. There's like no kind of like, we don't have convertible weather here. I think the weather's a little better in Nashville than it is here. And I just kind of hated going out and one day hitting off mats and the next day it's cart path only. And I'm just like, I guess I got spoiled in the golf courses I belonged to in the past in California. And so I just kind of wasn't that important. And especially because then also with the kids, I'm just kind of like trying to play dad the best I can now that I'm retired.
What do you do for fun then? You're not the dad, but if you're not playing golf, are you playing pickleball at all? Like that's a sport.
Nah, too many injuries. I've seen too many people already go down in pickleball, and I've been playing it. I was playing about 8 or 9 years ago when I first started going through our country club, and for fun, really, I don't know, nothing. I mean, just chill, work out, listen to music, go to concerts, chill. I mean, like, I think my fun's over. Baseball was fun for me.
Man, that does seem like it'd be the most fun. Like to be like young, athletic, good looking, playing center field for the freaking Cardinals. Other than the Cardinals part, it sounds like an amazing life.
I didn't realize you were such a Cubs fan.
Yeah, my whole life. It was a curse until it wasn't anymore, though.
It's funny. I think that I listen to you a lot, and I think I know a lot about listening to what you guys do and stuff. And I don't think I've heard a lot about the Cubs as much as, hear a lot about Arkansas and all that other stuff that you do. But yeah, I was surprised. But that makes sense, right?
It's been a rough few years, so it's not a lot to talk about. Also, baseball, for us doesn't really do, at least in talk. People don't really like to hear a lot of baseball talk unless it's about superstars.
Oh yeah.
And, the Cubs kind of went through a process there. We didn't know who was going to be on the team year to year. And our show was on in Chicago for a long time. But, yeah, there's not a lot to talk about with the Cubs. I'll be honest with you. When I grew up, my grandfather was a Cubs fan, and my stepdad was a Cubs fan. So it was just kind of passed on to me. I would never wish that for anyone. But growing up in Arkansas, we used to go to Busch and play like Legion ball, like championships in Busch Stadium, which was always awesome.
And that's Cardinal country down there, right? Are you from Hot Springs?
I am from Central Arkansas, yeah.
Down there for a charity event, and man, that's Cardinal country down there, and it's that kind of mix, right? It's like half Cubs, half Cardinals.
It's only Cubs if you were watching it on WGN the whole time, but it's mostly Cardinals because we had the AAA team and then the single A team for the Cardinals forever, and that was like the big trip for me every year. We would go to watch the Arkansas Travelers because they were the single A team for a long time that fed into the Cardinals, and you'd go and you'd get autographs and you'd hope they make it, and they never make it, and you just had some random card signed by some dude who's now walking down the street. So that was kind of the situation there. But yeah, I respected the Cardinals, but since everybody loved them, I hated them. But I got to play in the stadium, and it was pretty cool. I remember getting these balls, Jim. I don't know if you guys ever hit them with batting practice, because we would go and we get to see all the facilities back then, and the batting practice balls were smaller than normal balls, which made sense because if you hit smaller balls, it makes that bigger ball easier to hit. Did you ever hit with tiny batting practice balls?
No, not really. Sometimes they're different because they're practice balls, or also they get the crap beat out of them because they get hit so much, and they don't last very long. So that's probably another thing too. They're either brand new all the time, or they're smashed in from getting hit. But no, not purposely did they change the balls out, but probably over time. And I'm sure if you have a ball, like I have a ball from like the All-Star game in '95, and it looks like it's this big compared to like this big now. But it just in time they were tighter. They were in the '90s, the balls are rock hard, the bats are rock hard. Everyone was doing steroids. The ball was flying out of the ballpark. So I think they changed over time. I really do. They say that they don't, but I can promise you 100% that they're not the same year in and year out.
You have a guitar behind you, and I feel like you're a country music guy. Am I wrong? Am I right on this? What's the guitar for back there? What is that?
That's Eric Church. I got that. I got one from Eric. I got one Jason Aldean over there. Yeah, I am. You know what? You know how the worlds collide, right? I'm sure you probably either friends with a lot of you said Andy Roddick and a couple of those guys. Like, I think music and baseball have a huge connection, which I was surprised. So I met Luke through Adam Wainwright. Then I met Jason through DJ Silver, which John Purdue, I'm sure you probably know him, and his family. And then just kind of took off from there. I got to become friends with Cole Swindell. He knew Rick Ankiel. Like, it's just random how it's like everyone just kind of mingled and just stayed in touch with a lot of guys. And yeah, I really enjoy it.
It's interesting you mentioned Rick Ankiel because Rick was a pitcher when I first knew Rick. Like, he came up with the system like crazy prospect. Yeah. Then whatever happened to him emotionally, psychologically, I don't know. And then he ended up being a good outfielder as well. But that's one we talk about. Wally Pipp change positions. Like, they did that with Ankiel for a different reason. What? Because I struggle sometimes if I'm playing golf. Like, I get nervous. I played the Pebble Beach Pro-Am, and I was scared to death. And I'm not scared to do anything. My knees were shaking. Jim Nance was calling it. I don't get nervous, Jim, at all. I can do stand up in front of thousands of people. I can do live TV. I was scared to death, and I couldn't fix it. When Ankiel goes through something like that, like, did you have any of those moments where also you were just psychologically not in tune with yourself?
No, not like that. I always tease Rick, and this is a crazy credit to his ability too. He was probably the only guy ever to make it to the big leagues twice. If you think about that, he came up. He was 19 that year. It was my first year in St. Louis, and in the playoffs he lost it, and then lost the field for throwing. And then after a year and a half of trying, he went back and said, "I'm just going to be an outfielder." Actually, he quit for a couple of days, and then I think La Russa talked him into going back and trying to be an outfielder. And I thought, man, this guy was like, he could have been Randy Johnson. I mean, this guy is electric. He had the best. They said the best left-handed curveball in the game. He was 19. He threw 94. It just was wicked. But his upbringing and a lot of things that he had to deal with just probably wasn't at the time mentally as strong as he was hoping to be. And now he's all. I mean, I love him. I still keep in touch with him. I see him a lot. He was working for TV with us for a little bit. Now he's doing some stuff in Florida with boats and fishing and stuff. So, but yeah, what a crazy story, huh? I mean, one day he couldn't throw the ball over the plate, and a year and a half later he's starting in center field for the Cardinals. So
When you would get into a slump, how would you get out of a slump?
I would hit a lot. I would hit you. There's two things: either stop hitting completely, like if you had a chance to take a day off, you probably would. I wouldn't hit the day before the day off, and then I would just kind of wing it for a day or two. And then other days when we're at home, I would just hit extra until my hands bled. I mean, there's times when you have energy and you're not doing well, and there's times you're just dead tired. So then just back off and just let your ability take over. It's all up here, usually in the mind. You get out of sync with your body and out of sync with your mind.
Two final questions. Did you like playing in All-Star games? Now we hear players, they don't like it. They'd rather have the days off. Did you like playing and being around all those other guys?
I loved it. I really did. I could see if you play in, 10, 12, 15 of them, it would be a little bit of a nuisance because you're always expected to do so much. But I had a blast. I mean, I think it's your obligation to at least be, unless you're seriously hurt or beat up, to go and represent your team and do that stuff. I thought it was, it's a lot of fun. You get a lot of camaraderie there, a lot of interesting. It's funny to see the pitchers and the hitters kind of look at each other. There's like all these rivalries and guys that you might not like on one side, but then you play with them and you love them. So yeah, it's a weird scenario, but I thought it was kind of cool. I enjoyed being around those guys. And how do you not be excited about being around the best of the best? Kind of like going to an award ceremony, right? And you're actually now one of those guys. Like that's what I love about you is like you've done everything and you've kind of gone through what you've gone through, and all of a sudden look who are you, look what you have become just because of hard work. And now instead of just doing TV and talking to people and radio, you're like on the red carpet. You're presenting, you're winning awards,
Yeah, I still rather catch balls in the outfield, though. I still rather be. I'm be honest with you, Jim. I'm much rather.
Hey, come on up. I'll get you on the field for batting practice, and we'll see how it goes.
As a pro, do you actually care? Do you actually hate the teams you're supposed to hate that we as fans? And for me, it can be college football. It can be the major leagues. Obviously, we as Cubs fans really had trouble with the Cardinals. But as a player, is it really real?
It's funny. When I first got to St. Louis, I knew there was a rivalry with the Cubs, but I didn't really was like, what is this deal? Like I'm just got here. I don't know anyone. So I thought it was all media driven. And then I think the media can push it over the edge. If it's all you hear, and then you learn to not like a certain team, or and especially in the league, not this year, but a couple years ago or in the past when we were playing everybody in our division 18, 19 times, you get kind of sick of it, and it gets heated, and definitely the Cubs Cardinals were a good rivalry for like, I think after my second or third year, it started to really become real, like 02, 03. I think at 03, they beat us up pretty good at the end of the year. And then we got in a fight. And then 04, same kind of stuff. And then, then you start losing players, right? You start losing pitchers on their team, catcher or Michael Barrett. Then he ended up going somewhere else and all these different guys, right? And all of a sudden, what you had left was like Soto and Zambrano. And, other than Zambrano, there wasn't much of a rivalry left. And so it kind of went downhill for a while. But I think you feel it because you feel the fans, you feel the energy, and how can you not love playing in that stadium? Especially now, the stadium's amazing.
All right, bonus question: best concert you've ever been to?
I've been to so many now, it's crazy. But I just saw that I really fell in love with, and it was in a really small venue. It was Randy Houser.
Yeah, he can really sing, right? I mean, he's a vocal, like he just pure.
He played in like a small like pageant type of thing that we just built a new place here in Chesterfield, Missouri, and it's cool. It's like a little venue. It's really small. Chase Rice just played there. I watched a bunch of guys play there right after. Kind of got popular after COVID because they weren't selling tickets, and so it was kind of cool. I'm gonna go see Cole Swindell this weekend here. My best story with Cole Swindell, I love it. I got divorced, and you know the song "You Ain't Worth the Whiskey."
I do, yeah.
So that was like the one to live by after a breakup, right? If you
Yeah.
think about it, like in your own head. And it's a funny story. So we're sitting in a bar in Nashville with a couple guys, a couple writers, one of his buddies, me, a couple of guys hanging out, and was talking about that story and just how it meant so much. And it was weird. I was like, not saying like, "Hey, I love you because of this," but because I had known him for a little bit. I was telling him about the song, and he's like, "I'll be right back." And I was like, "All right, whatever." So now I'm talking to someone else, and he jumps up on stage and started performing the song. I was like, "This is pretty damn cool right here."
Yeah, that's
But
awesome. Well,
yeah, those guys, man, those guys are so much fun to be around and just so talented. I think it's really cool.
yeah, the annoying ones are the ones that were great athletes and then like they hurt something and they became a country music. Like Jake Owen, great golfer, collegiate golfer, hurts a shoulder, becomes a superstar. Sam Hunt, college football player, becomes superstar. Cole Swindell. I hate those guys because they were so good at everything, and I'm good at nothing, and so they're so likable as humans that you don't really hate them, you're just really jealous of them.
You know who's doing that now is Adam Wainwright. Adam Wainwright sang the national anthem on opening day, and he told no one.
I saw that.
And he carries his guitar with him everywhere he goes, and he's friends with Luke, really good friends with Luke, and obviously Jason and those guys. But yeah, it's funny. I don't know if this story is true. I was talking to Luke one day, and he was at the field, and I said, "How did you really get into playing guitar? Because I know you didn't play as a kid." And he said, "I got released off or a cut from my high school baseball team or whatever, and just picked up a guitar." So later in life, which I thought was awesome. Uh, and Jason said the same thing. As soon as he stopped playing baseball, he really got like, he's a hardcore baseball fan. Talking about a baseball fan. Wow. With the Braves, he's insane.
Yeah, he was a
He loves it.
good ball player too. Yeah, when I stopped playing baseball, I just got beat up more and studied. I mean, that's basically what I did. So, and here we are. Well, look, Jim, next time you come to town or one of the times, I'd love to meet you in person.
Yeah.
Just been a massive fan for a long time, and even what you do now, you do a great job at it. Like I don't know, man. I just get jealous of people who are good and good looking. I don't know. I'm starting to get sad again hearing this
Well, I
interview,
mean,
guys.
you're not doing so bad. I mean, I'm envious. You have a beautiful wife too now, and things are good for you. So, I mean, we listen to you every day here in St. Louis. And,
Law of averages. That was what that was. Law of averages, pretty much. Jim,
yeah,
huge fan. Thank you so
just
much.
kept moving, just kept shuffling them around until you found a really good one.
Just trying to, yeah. We'll go with that one because I don't want her to hear this. Jim, great to talk to you. Hope you have a great day, and would love to meet you sometime soon.
Definitely. I'll come check it out when we come back into town. Now, we're going to be in town maybe next week sometime. So
come on, come by the studio.
Try to get together.
Come meet everybody. We'd love to meet you.
Love to meet you guys too. Thank you.
Thanks for the time, Jim. Appreciate it.
Take care. Of course. Thanks.